In the ongoing fight against some of medicine's toughest puzzles, a really fascinating new tool has just emerged from a study in Nature Medicine. We're talking about an AI that's been designed to help doctors diagnose dementia, not just faster, but way more accurately than ever before. So let's dive in and see exactly how this thing works.
But before we get to the solution, we really have to get our heads around the problem itself. So let's start with a really fundamental question. Why is diagnosing dementia so incredibly difficult in the first place?
And the stakes here are just massive. About 10 million. That's the number of new dementia cases that pop up around the world every single year. It's a huge and, frankly, a growing public health crisis.
Okay, so all of this leads us to what researchers call the dementia diagnosis dilemma. And it's this huge hurdle, not just for doctors trying to find clear answers, but for patients and their families who are just desperate to get them. You see, the challenge is just incredibly complex. For one thing, the symptoms often overlap. Alzheimer's can look a lot like Lewy body dementia, for example. And to make it even trickier, a patient can actually have multiple types at the same time. On top of all that, there's a global shortage of specialists. So you put it all together, and you have a perfect storm for diagnostic errors, which can lead to the wrong and sometimes even harmful treatments.
So, to try and tackle this exact dilemma, researchers have developed what they're calling an AI copilot. Now, the key here is that this isn't about replacing doctors, it's about giving them a seriously powerful new assistant.
And the AI's secret sauce? It's something called multimodal data. Now, the idea is actually pretty simple, but it's incredibly powerful. Instead of just looking at one piece of the puzzle, like say a brain scan, the AI analyzes everything all at once to build a complete, holistic picture of a patient's health.
So what does multimodal actually look like in the real world? Well, it means the AI is pulling in a huge range of information, everything from demographics and family history to the results of cognitive tests, all the way to incredibly detailed MRI scans. It is literally designed to see the patient from every possible angle.
And look, this was not some small-scale experiment. To prove this thing could actually work out in the real world, the researchers used a massive dataset of over 51,000 participants, and they were from 9 different international groups. In other words, this model has been seriously stress-tested.
So that brings us to the big question, right? How did this AI actually perform when it was put to the test against this absolute mountain of data?
Well, the results were pretty stunning. The AI achieved a score of 0.96. Now, in technical terms, that's an AUROC score. It's basically a measure of how well a model can tell the difference between different things. A perfect score is 1.0. So getting a 0.96 at telling 10 different types of dementia apart, that is exceptionally accurate.
But here's the part that makes it so practical for a real clinic. The AI kept up its high performance even when some of the data was missing. I mean, in the real world, you almost never have a perfectly complete patient file. This model is built to handle that kind of messiness, and that is a huge advantage.
Okay, this is where the story gets really compelling. The study didn't just test the AI all by itself. No, it tested what happens when you combine the analytical power of the AI with the deep expertise of human doctors.
Which of course leads to the most critical question of all. What happens when you team up this AI copilot with a human expert? Is the whole thing actually greater than the sum of its parts?
And the answer was a resounding yes. When neurologists used the AI's analysis to help guide their own judgment, their diagnostic accuracy shot up. It improved significantly. The AI really did act as a true co-pilot, making their own expert intuition even stronger.
So, how much better were they? Well, on average, having the AI's assistance boosted the diagnostic accuracy of these expert neurologists by over 26%. I mean, that's not just a small bump. That is a massive leap in performance, and it proves this incredible synergy between human and machine.
But for doctors to really trust an AI, its digital predictions have to match up with what's physically biologically real. So the researchers went a crucial step further to make sure the model's conclusions were grounded in reality.
They used a two-step process. First, they compared the AI's predictions against well-known biomarkers that you can see in PET scans. Then, for the ultimate proof, they validated the AI's findings against the absolute gold standard, a post-mortem analysis of actual brain tissue.
And this proves the AI wasn't just, making lucky guesses. Its probability scores for a disease like Alzheimer's directly tracked with the actual physical amount of things like amyloid plaques found in the brain. It was seeing the biological truth.
So all of this evidence really points toward what could be a huge shift in how we approach diagnosing dementia. What could this actually mean for the future?
Well, the potential impact is massive. This AI could be used as a powerful screening tool in clinics. It could help researchers find the exact right patients for clinical trials for new drugs, and it could help standardize diagnoses across different hospitals. But all of this is aimed at one primary goal: getting patients an earlier, more accurate diagnosis, because that is always the first step toward better care and, hopefully, better outcomes.
And that really leaves us with a final, pretty provocative thought. We've just seen the evidence for an AI that's highly accurate, that's tough enough for real-world conditions, and that makes human experts even better at their jobs. So the question isn't just if AI can help, but whether this kind of AI copilot could soon become the new standard of care.